Please rise and join me in reciting the Shin Buddhist principles of life principles on page 9 in your Seitan. Entrusting in the vow of the Buddha, calling out Buddha's name, I will pass through the journey of life with strength and joy, revering the light of the Buddha, reflecting upon my imperfect self. I will strive to live a life of gratitude, following the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path. I will share the true Dharma with all, rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddhas, respecting and aiding all sentient beings. I will work towards the welfare of society in the world. Please be seated. We will now chant the Sutra Sambujo on page 29, followed by the Sutra Sambutsuke on page 33. For the Shotsuki Memorial Service for September, Kauda Hideo, September 4th, 2000. Yoshida Hina, September 23rd, 1999. Oikawa Norman, September 23rd, 1990. Kudo Jin Yaiko, September 3rd, 1988. Nishimura Masa, September 26th, 1985. Suzuki Suke Saburo, September 19th, 1981. Inoue Hina, September 30th, 1975. Koyanagi Kisa, September 15th, 1973. Takeda Tome, September 12th, 1970. Minamoto Mitsuyo, September 18th, 1968. Could the balance of the congregation please come up? We will now read the English translation on page 34. Your radiant countenance is majestic, and your dignity is boundless. Radiant splendor such as yours has no equal. Even the blazing light of the sun, moon, and many jewels is completely hidden and obscured, and looks like a mass of black ink sticks. The countenance of the Tathagata is unequaled in the world. The great voice of the perfectly enlightened one resounds throughout the quarters. Your observance of precepts, learning, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. The magnificence of these virtues is peerless, excellent, and unsurpassed. Deeply and clearly mindful of the ocean of the Dharma of all Buddhas, you know its depth and breadth and reach its farthest end. Ignorance, greed, and anger are completely absent in the world-honored one. You are a lion, the most courageous of all humans, having immeasurable, majestic virtues. Your meritorious accomplishment is vast, and your wisdom is deep and supreme. The majestic glory of your light shakes the great thousand worlds. I vow to become a Buddha, equal to you, the most honored king of the Dharma, and to bring sentient beings from birth and death to the final attainment of emancipation. My practice of giving, self-discipline, observance of precepts, forbearance, diligence, and also meditation wisdom shall be unsurpassed. I resolve that when I become a Buddha, I will fulfill these vows in every possible way, and to all beings who live in fear, I will give great peace. Even though there are Buddhas, as many as 1,000 million devotees of countless great sages, as many as sands of the Ganges, I will make offerings to all the Buddhas, Nothing surpasses my determination to seek the way steadfastly, entirely. Even though there are Buddha worlds as many as the sands of the Ganges and also innumerable lands beyond calculation, my light shall illumine. I will make such efforts that my divine power may be boundless. When I become a Buddha, my land shall be the most exquisite. People there shall be unrivaled and excellent, and my seed of enlightenment shall be beyond compare. My land shall be like Nirvana, being supreme and unequaled. Out of the compassion and pity, I will bring all to emancipation. Those who come from the 10 quarters shall rejoice with pure hearts. Once they reach my land, they shall dwell in the peace and happiness. May you, the Buddha, be my witness and attest to the truthfulness of my resolution. I have thus made my aspiration. I will endeavor to fulfill it. The world-honored ones in the 10 quarters have unimpeded wisdom. May these honored ones always know my intentions. Even if I should be subjected to all kinds of suffering and torment, continuing my practice undeterred, I will endure it and never have any regrets. Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu. I would like to introduce Wilson Sensei for his Dharma message.
Wonderful. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you all once again. This is my first time visiting this Central Library here in Burlington. Is this the first time we've had a service here, or have you all had some here before? Started in March. Okay, very good. All right. So you know what you're doing. I'm the only newbie here. Okay, that's why I wasn't entirely sure of the service format and everything. Okay, all right, very good. Well, I think I'm going to miss the community center, but this is quite a nice space, actually. This is a lovely sort of surroundings, a very nice room we have here. I've got a stage. I need to do some sort of show later, so this is a good props and upgrade. So it's wonderful. Thank you to everyone who contributed to make it possible for us to have this service here, including our technical wizard over there and everyone else who contributed. Setting up the Butsudan, making the arrangements for us to be here and everything. That's really wonderful. Actually, my wife, Kristen, as some of you know, is a librarian. So it's always kind of exciting for me to visit a new library. So, wow, okay, I'll have to take some pictures and tell her about it, right? Library tourism here. So today I want to begin by telling you all about an interesting and important book that I read. I've got a copy of it here. This is kind of appropriate since we are meeting in the library. So the book is my copy, but there are copies here in the library. In fact, they have physical copies, e-copies, audiobooks, anything you could want. The book here is called Braiding Sweetgrass. Braiding Sweetgrass. Subtitles: Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants. And the author is Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer. She's an Indigenous woman and also a botanist and a professor at the State University of New York. Maybe I'll show it here for the people online too. They can see me here with this device. So there it is. Might be backwards on your screen. I don't know. Okay. So very interesting book, which I read. And in this book, she actually, among other things, she recalls her childhood in upstate New York, actually not very far from here. Wandering in the fields as a child and finding wild strawberries. This was a favorite activity of hers. And to Dr. Kimmerer, with an indigenous perspective, she understands these strawberries as a gift from the land. So that's her way of relating to this, right? And they're very sweet. They're a sweet gift. They provide sweetness in life, and they also provide the opportunity for her to pick them, and then they can be made into strawberry shortcake for her father's birthday. And this was an important gift for her to receive from the land because, number one, strawberry shortcake was her dad's favorite food. At least he said it was, since they made it for him. And also, family was too poor to afford any store-bought gifts, so you had to forage in the environment and use that in order to come up with some sort of gift to be able to provide to celebrate his birthday, an important day for him, important person to them, right? So she contrasts these wild strawberries that are a gift from the land that she and her siblings collect themselves, and then her mother, bakes into the strawberry shortcake and everything. Contrasts these with then the farm-grown ones that she and her siblings would they'd pedal their bikes a ways down the way to the farm of Mrs. Crandall, and she would pay them a dime per quart that they could pick. And they would pick all day and they get some savings, but then she sold them for like 60 cents a quart. So you would pick all day and then you could barely afford to buy, a quart of what you had actually picked here, right? And she said they just didn't taste as sweet, both because, there's something about that process of going and finding them yourself and collecting them as part of a gift in this way, and not being, frankly, exploited economically in this situation. So those farm-bought strawberries could never be as sweet, in her opinion. It was the wild ones, the gift, that were the right strawberries, the good ones, right? She points out in the book that the nature of a thing, of something that we interact with, this is changed based on whether it comes into our hands as a gift on the one hand, or as a commodity, such as what was going on with the sort of marketing of the farm-raised ones. Mrs. Crandall sold them at the side of the street, but then often they would go off to the grocery store and so on. So there'd be many further sort of levels of remove between them growing from the earth and then actually coming to the person who finally would buy it and use it in this way. So she said there's a real difference, or the nature of the thing has changed, whether it's a gift or whether it's a commodity like this. An example she used in the book was one of socks. So if you drive to the mall, you go in there, you look at all these socks, more socks than you could ever wear, more socks than you could ever want, certainly more socks than you're ever going to buy. There's already an excess of socks there. And then you choose finally the one you want, and you bring it up and you just pay for it, right? So as soon as you buy it, any sense of relationship between yourself and whoever produced those socks, who's not the person selling it to you, that's any sense of relationship or obligation just evaporates here, because you bought it, you paid your fair price for it, and you left in this way. It's just yours. It's just kind of a dead thing that now is in your ownership in this way. But she contrasts this then with socks that your grandmother might knit for you and then give to you, at Christmas or your birthday or something like this, right? She says that these socks will create an ongoing relationship with the person who gave them to you. I guess with the socks too, because every time you see those socks, they're a part of you now, but they're also a part of her, the person who made this in this way. So they act as an inherent sort of bridge. They're special in this way. They don't lose value over time, the way that as soon as you buy the thing, it's just a commodity and already it's starting to wear out. You're already thinking, down the road, I'm gonna have to replace these socks. I have to go back to the mall and buy some more socks, maybe, right? But with the socks that your grandmother gave you, that she made herself, those increase in value the longer you have them. You have memories of wearing these socks now, and you think of her every time, and it's like sedimentation building up at the bottom of a river or something like this. There's something going on there. There's a process, and it actually accumulates over time in this way, right? Dr. Kimmer says that, thinking back to the strawberries, if she saw wild strawberries, which are a gift, which establish these sort of relationships, if she saw wild strawberries being sold in the store, she'd actually be offended by this, right? They weren't meant to be sold. These were a gift from the land, as she understands it. She doesn't feel the same way about the farm-raised ones. Sure, you can sell those in store, no big deal. They were born to do that. But the wild strawberries were meant to be kept out of the economy. They were meant to be gifts and something different in this way. So there's a lot about strawberries and socks. Why am I bringing this up in a Dharma talk? Okay, there's a point here. I'm getting to it slowly. Okay, so I do think, though, that all of this can illuminate something about Buddhism for us, because this is the way of the Nembutsu as well. I've been disturbed a bit by the commodification of things like Buddhist meditation, right? As something sacred gets patented and then sold to us via mindfulness apps in order to generate a profit in this sort of way. Mindfulness, meditation, these things are actually so important that something happens when they get taken out of their proper context and then just be turned into a product that you have to pay somebody literally on your phone, in this way to have access to something that was a free gift from the Buddha teaching the Dharma originally, right? So I'm very thankful that at least the Nembutsu cannot be commodified. It is outside of the possible realm of those type of relationships. And this is because the Nembutsu is only and is always a gift. We don't earn Shinjin or entrance into the Pure Land by saying the Nembutsu. The Nembutsu, the Pure Land, our liberation, these are all gifts. These are gifts that Amida Buddha provided to us purely for our own benefit, out of sheer love and compassion. There's no economic motive there. There's no do this thing and then I'll get a payoff too or anything. This is just gift, the Pure Land Dharma that we have in this form of Buddhism. This is why we say we have no practice in Jodo Shinshu. Right? If you read a book like Introduction to Shin Buddhism, we'll say, well, we don't really have a practice. Well, why is that? Certainly there's a lot of things we do. What do they mean? What they mean is that it's the Buddha who already accomplished the path for us and then freely gives the fruit of that effort to us. Doesn't ask us to do anything, but just provides the Dharma just to us because we have a need for it. It's just a gift given out of care in this way. This contrasts with some other forms of religion, including some forms of Buddhism, where one basically buys awakening through your hard effort, many different practices, or sometimes literally through your financial donation. There's certain lineages that teach, well, the more you give to the temple, the more likely you are to reach enlightenment or something like that. Don't get me wrong, please give to the temple because it's an important institution that then provides an opportunity for people to hear the Dharma. But I hate to say it, no matter how much you give, that's not going to buy you the Pure Land or enlightenment or anything else like that. These are already given to you, whether or not you show up, whether or not you provide that dana or whatever in that way, right? The temple, the Nembutsu, the Pure Land Dharma at least, exists outside of that type of economic relationship in that way. For us, our understanding in this tradition is that liberation is only a gift. The Nembutsu is only a beautiful, heartfelt gift from the Buddha's heart to your own heart. And we should cherish it precisely because it is a free gift. And therefore it's priceless, actually. In a world, frankly, of kind of a lot of cheap junk and overpriced commodities, where we have to live in a system of ever ongoing labor, such gifts as this, these are rare, actually, and quite precious. But there's more to gifts than just the receiving of them. Dr. Kimmer writes, and this is a quote from her book, gifts from the earth or from each other establish a particular relationship, an obligation of sorts to give, to receive, to reciprocate. The field gave to us. This is gave the strawberries, right? The field gave to us. We gave to our dad by making the strawberry shortcake. And we tried to give back to the strawberry, she says. Here she's indicating that receiving a gift creates a relationship, and that produces an obligation. Receiving strawberries, wild strawberries from the land, right? She's drawn closer to the natural world. This is the world that is supporting her. And she feels obligated then to take care of the soil, of the rain, of the air, and the other things that that strawberry plant needs in order to survive and provide that gift to her, right? So for us too, the gift of liberation through the Nembutsu establishes a caring relationship with Amida Buddha and produces a feeling of indebtedness. As we recognize our indebtedness, we show our appreciation. And how do we do so? Certainly by saying the Nembutsu, right? Also by teaching the Dharma to others, by sharing it with others so that they can be benefited, and by doing what we're able to do to reduce suffering in the world, which is what the Buddha truly wishes. The point of Buddhism is to reduce suffering. So to the extent that we're able to act in ways that reduce suffering in the world, we are following sort of the Buddha's preferences in these ways, right? Dr. Kimmer writes, this is another quote from her book, "This is the fundamental nature of gifts. They move and their value increases with their passage. The fields made a gift of berries to us, and we made a gift of them to our Father. The more something is shared, the greater its value becomes." This is her insight. And this is also the way of the Dharma, because this increases in value too, the more it's shared with others. This offering of freedom from suffering to others, right? There's a story that I tell in my book, Buddhism of the Heart. This is an old Chinese parable. It's about a man, he's crossing a field, and he hears a noise, he looks behind him, and suddenly he realizes there's a wild tiger stalking him. So he freaks out, starts running, okay? I don't know if it's best to like run from a tiger or freeze or get really big and shout, or really probably if it's a tiger, no matter what you do, you're probably in trouble. It's probably not like a best answer. I hope you brought some tiger spray. In this story, he didn't, because this is like thousands of years ago. He's walking across the field, tiger starts chasing him. So he runs. He comes to a precipice. So, there's a cliff and tiger behind him. But he notices a vine. So he grabs hold of the root of this wild vine. He swings himself down over the edge of the cliff, climbs down a little bit to get out of the reach of the tiger there, right? And he looks up, and the tiger's sniffing at him over the edge of the precipice here, so he's in trouble, right? He goes down a little further. He's trembling. He's trying to hold on. And he looks down, way far down at the bottom of this cliff. There's another tiger. So it is just waiting there, waiting to eat him. Mouth open, smiling, just waiting for him to drop in there. Okay, so he's stuck. There's a tiger at the top. There's a tiger at the bottom. He's on this cliff, which, is dangerous anyways, right? Only this vine is sustaining his life here. And just that moment, he looks further and he sees, there's a couple little mice. In the classical story, there's a white mouse and black mouse, and they're gnawing on the vine. So, oh no, his time is getting even shorter. What's going on? But then as all this is happening, he also looks and he sees growing out of the cliff side there's a wild strawberry. And he plucks it, puts it in his mouth. It's so sweet. It's really delicious. This is where the story ends. So sorry, ends on a cliffhanger. You'll have to figure out what happens next. But, don't blame me. Chinese came up with this story. You yell at them if you want. He tastes this wonderful strawberry, and he enjoys it in this very perilous moment. Now, Dr. Kimmer, she says, there's another quote from her book, "Our human relationship with strawberries is transformed by a choice of perspective. It is human perspective that makes the world a gift. When we view the world this way, strawberries and humans alike are transformed. The relationship of gratitude and reciprocity thus developed can increase the evolutionary fitness of both plant and animal." She's a scientist, right? So she has to go there too. "A species and a culture that treat the natural world with respect and reciprocity will surely pass on genes to ensuing generations with a higher frequency than those people who destroy it. The stories we choose to shape our behaviors have adaptive consequences." So a little bit of scientific language here, but the point that I want to draw out of this here, Dr. Kimmer is teaching us that there's a power in transforming our perspective. And that's at the heart of that story about the mice and the tigers and the strawberry, right? When the man notices the strawberry, he's able to experience sweetness even in the suffering world. Now, it shouldn't surprise us that a Buddhist story might carry a message like this, because Buddhism is primarily about transforming our perspective. We suffer because of our misguided perspective, which focuses single-mindedly on ourselves, judging everything in terms of possible gain or loss to ourself, right? And this sort of mentality, meanwhile, is overlooking that our understanding of ourselves is like a type of fiction, really, one which is mired in greed, in anger, and in ignorance. But the light of the Buddha's wisdom illuminates our lives, and it makes it possible for us to develop another perspective. It's a point of view that sees how interconnected we are with others and how reduction of self-clinging reduces our suffering, actually. So at the heart of Dr. Kimmer's approach to life is this idea of the power of stories. These are the tools that create possibilities for new, life-giving perspectives. It's all about stories for her from an Indigenous perspective. And I think also this is why the story of the Pure Land matters as well within our tradition. This story is a gift from the Buddha, right? From the masters of the tradition, from the previous generations of ordinary women and men and others who handed this down to us. When we live our lives in accord with the story of the Pure Land, we're enabled to become aware of the gifts that we receive in every moment. If our perspective is transformed into one of gratitude and appreciation, then the burdens of our lives ease and thankfulness spills out of us as Namo Amida Butsu. Then we can return the favor of this priceless Nembutsu by teaching and helping others, by acting towards the world and others with an attitude of gratitude and reciprocity. I'm grateful to Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer for showing me the meaning of gifts in her culture, and therefore allowing me to reflect on the meaning of the Buddha's gifts in our own lives. And of course, I'm grateful to all of you for listening to my Dharma talk here this morning and giving me a chance to pass on that wonderful Dharma that's been gifted to us from the past so that we can be happier and have more peace today. So thank you all very much for your attention. Let's close with Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Amanda. 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 Yeah, you do.
Thank you, Sensei, for that very interesting Dharma talk. Please rise and recite the golden chain on page 8. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. May I be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. May I think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and do beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Please be seated. Oh. Announcements. The Women's Federation fundraising project has 6 blank cards for $10. Funds raised to help support sending delegates to the Women's Convention in Kyoto in May. We are collecting youth stamps. This is an ongoing Women's Federation fundraiser. Thanks to Wilson Sensei for today's service. Thanks to all members who helped in making and preparing today's refreshments. Thanks to all of you for attending our fall Higan and September Shotsuki service today. Our next service will be our October JSBTC Day and Shotsuki service on Sunday, October 8th at 2 p.m. Please join us for tea and light lunch. We will close the formal portion of the service with the Nembutsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu.